Okay, so we know from the other day you guys asked me and Rob to make more videos to show you more detail what we're doing in terms of breaking down the programming side of things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the checkpoint system that we did the other day, and I'm going to help you guys fix this checkpoint system and show you how it works so you've got better detail. And what we'll do is for each subsequent lesson we'll add more of these videos to Moodle for you. So just to break down what we were doing, we were grabbing our player here and we're saying if the player lands on a particular platform, so let's say this one here, then what we're going to do is we're going to allow the player to store this platform's position. Then when our player jumps off and let's say it dies here and it drops, it's going to respawn back here. So even if we end up over here and we drop, our player would end up back here, like so. Or if we've not hit a checkpoint yet, what's going to happen is our player will end up back here because this is our starting position. So let's say we start here. Oh, let's put this back to 0, 0, 0. Our player will, if it dies, will drop down here, but then get respawned back to the 0 position. Okay, so we do that with a couple of scripts. So the first script, when I open it up, scripts. Let's look at the player respawn first. So what's happening in the player respawn is we are making a variable which is a vector free and it's called position to spawn at. So we're going to call this position to spawn at every time we want to say where are you going to respawn. So in order to set that initially at the start of the game, at the start of the level, we say the position to spawn at is equal to the player's current position. So transform dot position. So that's the player's current position, which is here. So that's the player's current position. That's where we're going to respawn if we die at any point before we hit a checkpoint. Okay. So when we go through a checkpoint, we will do the following. So our checkpoint will have a trigger on it. So void on trigger enter, declared at the other. If the thing entering that trigger is the player, so is it tagged as player, then we're going to access the player. We're going to access the player respawn script that's attached to that player. And then we're going to call the function update respawn position. And we're going to pass to it the current location of our checkpoint. So that's why it's saying game object.transform.position. So we're going to get the current position of the checkpoint and pass that through to this function here. And this function, if we go back to our player respawn script, it's saying create a new vector free, and that new vector free is new position. And the values in that new position is obviously going to come from here, which is the transform position of the checkpoint. And then what we're doing is we're saying the position to spawn at is now being set to the new position. And then we're going to access that position to spawn at again on the Y value, and we're going to add a free a value of free to that position just to offset it slightly. So it has the additional free. It's just to avoid a glitch that we noticed when we were testing it. So what we're doing was infinite jumping. So we've offsetted it by 3. And it just pushed it forward just a little tiny bit to stop it from loop glitching. Okay. So just break that down one more time. So what's happening is when we go through a checkpoint, we're going to see whether the thing passing the checkpoint is firstly the player, and if it is the player, then we get the component on the player, which is player respawn, which is a script, and then we're going to call this function updates respawn position, and we're going to pass to it the current location of the checkpoint. When that's called inside the game, inside the player respawn script, it's going to say, okay, the position to spawn at is now set to this new position, and then we're also going to increase the position slightly by 3 on the Y. Then when we fall off the platform, we're going to hit a new trigger, which is called fall zone, and then there's a component on our player called character controller. We're going to disable it. So we go in here and we go to the play capsule. We have the character controller. We actually disable that character controller. That stops the character from moving, so there's no actual input happening. And whilst there's no input happening, then what we're going to do is we're going to get our current player's position, and we're actually going to change that position to the position we are storing here. So the position to spawn at is now, sorry, the transformed position of the player is now set to the position to spawn at. So basically the checkpoint plus 3. So in essence, all we're doing is, here's the checkpoint, we jump, we die, we end up back here. And that's all that's happening. Okay, so let's see that in action. So what we'll do is I will designate this as our checkpoint. So I'm just going to Control D to duplicate the platform. I'm going to get rid of the mesh renderer so you can't see it. I'm going to make it its trigger. I'm going to add the tag, because you guys might not already add the tag. If you haven't added the tag, you go to the plus, call it checkpoint, hit save. I've already got it, so I don't need to do that. But what will happen is if you haven't already got the tag and you make the tag, you're going to have to click back on your checkpoint that you've just made. So the one without the mesh renderer. Let me rename that to checkpoint, just so it's clear. You make sure that the tag is tagged as checkpoint, so you will have to go back onto that, then drop it down, then hit checkpoint. Now it's tagged as checkpoint. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit the edit collider, and I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger so that we know that that is where the player's landed in. Now at the minute, you can't see that you landed in a checkpoint. There's no indication that you are hitting the checkpoint. So what we could do as an extension task is you guys could figure out a way how to use the UI system to say you've entered the checkpoint, or you can visualize the checkpoint. You can actually add the mesh renderer and maybe make like an icon or something that will visualize to the player that they're going through a checkpoint. Okay, but that's it for you guys to decide how you want to do that. I will show you how to do that in like an extension video. But for the main crux, because what you're doing for the course for this particular project you're working on, you don't need to do that. But if you want to do it as an extension, you can do, and I'll show you how to do that. But before you do that, use your own initiative, use the Unity documentation to figure out how you would do that. And then you try it, and then I'll correct you later on as we go along. So we've made the checkpoint. And on the level reset, again, you need to set this to full zone. So make a tag, set it as full zone. Okay. On the checkpoint, we need to get our checkpoint script that we've given you and drag it onto the checkpoint. So it's there. On the player capsule, you're also going to need the player respawn script added onto it. Okay. These are two vital things. You need to make sure that the player respawn script is on the player capsule. So if your prefab is at the top level, drill it down, player capsule, and then drag it on. Okay, so it needs to be on the player capsule itself. Make sure again the character is tagged as player, and then all the other prefabs underneath it will also be tagged as player. So when I hit play, I'm going to jump off the platform here. And it's not moving because my character controller is disabled. So let's play again. Let's try again. Okay, so I'm going to move. I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to start back on the green platform. But if I jump, I hit this platform, and then I finally end up on here. I'm now in the checkpoint. So if I kill myself, I'm respawning back at this checkpoint here. Okay. Then I can just add another checkpoint somewhere along the line. Let's say where you see the spinning objects, which we'll go into in a subsequent lesson. So let me just escape and make a duplicate of this checkpoint. So instead of duplicating it, make your prefabs folder. You should have already made the prefabs folder, but you haven't made one. Get your checkpoint and drag it into the prefabs folder. That now becomes a prefab. So all you have to do is find where you want the next checkpoint. So I want it on this blue cube here. I'm going to drag it on. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit the collider itself just to make it a length of this, because you have it here and the player doesn't know that that's a checkpoint. They're not going to know they hit a checkpoint. So that's where you would then visualize the checkpoint as maybe like an icon or something. But in this instance, all I'm going to do is make it the length of the platform so I know that I am hitting the checkpoint. like so. Okay, it's already tagged as checkpoint because it's coming from the prefab. So if I play the game again, because we've reset the game now, we're already going to respawn at the starting position. So let me just kill myself to show you. We're at the respawn position, the start position, sorry. So I'm going to go, hit here, I've hit the checkpoint, I'm going to kill myself. I've respawned at the checkpoint. Now I'm going to go across, 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 across. Oh, now I've gone through the checkpoint and now I'm respawning here. So that's how that checkpoint system's working. There's another extension task that we can do that I'm going to show you now. So let me just stop this game. Let me turn the full script back on these. So if I hit play again, you'll notice something here that's going to happen. So I'm going to go to this respawn position. I'm going to jump on this box here and I'm dead. Hit one of these. None of these want to fall. Let me just check the floor. For some reason, it just randomly doesn't want to fall because it's not activating. Of course, it's not. So let me just. There you go. So now it's falling. Okay. So now it's fallen. If you notice that we're respawning, let me do it on another one. There you go. So it's fallen. If you'll notice that it's not actually the platforms themselves aren't returning back to their original position. So now you've got no first platform to jump on. So if you manage to kill yourself along on these platforms here, so along these 3 platforms or the 6 platforms, eventually you're not going to have any platform to jump on and you kind of deaded the game. You've unalived the game. So what you'll need to do is, as part of an extension task for now, and then we'll fix it later on within the lessons, figure out how you can get these platforms to either return back to their original position after a set amount of time, or another way you can do it is get the platforms to just return to their original position when you respawn. Okay, but to go over again what we've done one last time is we've made a checkpoint system by adding a new box collider to an object. We made it a trigger, we've tagged it as checkpoint, we've added the checkpoint script to it. We've added a script to our player capsule, and I'll make sure our player is tagged as player. We run through the game, we hit the checkpoint, we die, we go back to the checkpoint. We run through the game, we go through the new checkpoint, we die, we go back to the new checkpoint. If we haven't hit a checkpoint when we start the game, we're always going to return back to this start position here. Okay? And then, like I said, what we'll do is the extension task for you guys to do is to figure out a way to either have it show on the screen as like a UI, so like a bit of text saying checkpoint entered, or visualize it yourself so you can add like a component to it. So if I go to the checkpoint, the prefab itself, so there's a good example of how you can actually edit the prefabs. So if you double click the prefab to open it, add a component and a mesh renderer. Or another way you can do it is, I should remove that, another way you can do it is right click the checkpoint, create 3D object, maybe create a cube, we'll call it symbol, and I can just quickly turn it into something like so. Obviously this is just a cube at the minute, it's not really going to symbolize anything. Make sure it's set to the 0 position. Make sure you haven't got a box collider unit this way, so the player can't just pass straight through it. And then I can go into my materials folder where I've got materials now, so I'm going to make one. Let's make it green actually. So if I go back to my game now, you can see that that is now the symbol for the checkpoint. Okay, it's not great. It doesn't. You could do a lot better than that. I'm just really quickly showing you that that's how you can visualize it. And because we haven't got the box collider, we can literally just walk through that. Okay. If you do it that way, you can also add a feature where as soon as the player walks through it, then that mesh renderer then gets disabled, so you never see the indicator again because you've already walked through that checkpoint. There's many different ways how you can visualize a checkpoint and how you can actually get, once you've walked through the checkpoint, stop it from showing the checkpoint again because you've already entered the checkpoint. What I'll do is I'll leave that to you guys to figure out how you would do that, and then in a couple of lessons times I will show you how to do it and how we can fix that. Okay, wonderful, thank you.